We are live. What I don't like is it doesn't leave. I have to figure out the settings at some point because it doesn't leave my my live chat on long enough. Oh God, Finny, I'm sorry.
What happened?
I bumped my baby. He was too close and I elbowed him in the face. So I punched Iris and I elbowed Finn. This is not cool. So as you know, oh wow. I'm sorry, that was in Ukraine. This is SaTAROTday. I usually do a video. I might even switch to doing it live. Who knows? But at this point, I generally do the video, and I like the video because I can put the cards up. But I don't have the ability to edit right now because we're still in a hotel. We still have no power, no internet. So what instead we're doing is live, right? So this way it happens, and I know most people aren't going to see this live. They're probably going to catch it afterwards. So that's all well and good. Trying to get Finn on the ground before this lady walks by the window and he goes berserk. But anyway, so we're going to do a live to get the tarot on the books, right? Instead of having to edit, audit, edit, all that stuff. So that's the goal. So I am going to do it a little different today. I'm going to pull cards, but I'm going to pull one card one time for one thing. So this is a different style. This is just this is like a universal message style. The noise you hear is Finn. Another thing, I will go and put this out there. I did talk with Adius yesterday, getting some health things back in order. Obviously, for me, it's really hard to do that on Friday or Saturday even right now because we have a 3-hour drive to and from work and or to and from our house every day. So that's a minimum of 6 hours of driving a day on top of working 8 hours at minimum for our jobs, plus being on call. Like our jobs require us to be on the phone pretty much all the time. There's just no way I can get home back to the hotel and stuff by time to do the Malice Experience podcast. It is not going away. I am not leaving. And I think Adius agrees. It's just the way things are right now. We both need respite for now. So that is still coming. Sorry for the jumpiness. This is VG and the dog's running into the little miniature table I have. And they're all like right at my feet. So it's not going away. So if you do watch Malice Experience, we are going to continue that. I think we're going to talk about some changes and adjustments to some processes and how we do it, but it's not going away, just in case anybody was wondering. And I'm not leaving. It's just his hurricane has been insane. And even our friends that do have power back, it's been 11 days now. Some have got power back. There's still not internet. So just because the power's on doesn't mean the internet's working. And cell phone service, you can make and receive calls. You might get a text message through, but you cannot use data. So there's no data services. So it just really is not plausible for us to really keep it up. The reason I can do this and I can do Sunday service is because, well, Saturday and Sunday in the morning, we're not driving. We're at the hotel, blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to be clear on all that. So today, I'm actually using a really cool deck. It is called Magicians, Martyrs, and Madmen Tarot. This is a deck Rook got me off of a Kickstarter. I love it. We've talked about it. I think I talked about it either on Malice Experience or on Sunday Service. But it is a gorgeous deck. It is well made. I do wish this cardstock was a little thicker. It's GSM paper, but that's okay. The back is reversible. I think in my review, I feel like I don't know exactly what that sigil is. I haven't read the book. I don't usually, but I think I will read this one because it's a full compendium, which I like. It's not just a how to read the tarot book. It's an actual compendium of the historical results of the people that are on it. So pretty cool there. But I mean, I think they kind of skimped the back a little bit. And then, so on the front, for example, this Hanged Man. This is obviously not the Hanged Man you would expect, but it still gets the point across, I think. When you're in that moment, your perspective changes, right? You have to look at it from a different way. This is soul searching. This person is Gongo Lutete. I don't know who that is. I need to read the historical compendium to find that out. But I do know what the Hanged Man represents, and I can see that in here. So, gorgeous cards. Like as far as the way that they're done, the artwork is beautiful. The no borders, I love. But anyway, so that's a Hanged Man. Queen Mary of England is the star. I don't know exactly, again, why that is, but I'm going to look that up as I read the compendium to kind of pull this information. And The reason I don't usually read the book is because I like to interpret some of the readings, and also I do know from historical readings how to kind of get traditional meanings and what the traditional meanings are, but I really want to know the individuals represented and what it says about those individuals on the card for the read. So they're fine making noise.
Okay.
I don't really care. We don't have editing capabilities, and this is just how we're gonna do it. Trying to see somebody that oh, here we go. The Queen of Swords. Who would have thought? Lizzie Borden.
Ooh.
Right?
She's the queen of the clouds.
So, thanks. So, I mean, that's really kind of where it comes from there. So, again, I'm going to, we're going to do some specific questions. It's going to be very similar. Like, I'm not going to depart, but I'm just not going to do 3 cards in a row. I'm going to do 1 card as we review a different part and process of it. But I do need to shuffle a little bit. This deck has only been used 1 other time, so I'm really excited about it. I know a lot of people, well, not a lot, well, yeah, a lot actually, still don't have power or internet as far as who our viewing group is, so hopefully when you catch back up with this, we'll be able to evaluate our card reading, because one of my questions is going to be related to the recovery in Southwest Florida. And then Rook is here with me. I don't know if he's going to join on the camera at all or not. But we're going to do some questions and stuff like that. So if anybody does happen to hop in, we'll get a couple. So, let me see here. I want to make sure that all my stuff is on. Yep, it is. I want to learn more. I don't want to learn more. I want you to go away.
If you are buying a veiled chameleon this size, brand, what kind of cage is the best for them?
A Sad World, good morning. How's it going? This week is much like last Saturday. We still don't have power or internet at our house, so we're doing it from the hotel, which is why I'm doing it live versus a pre-record video. So still a little bit on the tired side, but doing much better. It is hard being in a small hotel room, though, with all these dogs. BG, come here. Don't knock my table over. Come around. You're nuts. She's gonna bark at me. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've got water at the house. We've been doing a lot of cleaning during the day. It's just the drive, man. We're 2.5 hours across the state, so that both ways every day is cool. It really grates on you. Finn, my Chihuahua is hanging off our big dog's mouth. Let her give her a break. You're a demon. Shh, you can't bark in the hotel. So yeah, it's definitely been interesting. Guys, they're distracting me. Nah, but that's okay. Like, it could have been worse. But anyway. But thank you. Yeah, it's definitely doing better. Hope everything's going good for you as well. We're going to do our live read today a little bit differently. I'm going to just do a couple of generals and questions to kind of see things that are going on. So honestly, my first tarot question is going to be right now with everything going on, not just Florida. I'm talking about the whole of the states and abroad. What is the most important thing that we need to pay attention to as individuals? So, yeah, and I usually am flying and driving for my job as well. I cover a territory that goes from North Jersey, from Mountainside, New Jersey, all the way down to pretty much Miami, Florida. So I am all over the place in flight, but man, every day the same. Oh, it kills you. I can't do it. I'm tired. But our first card to answer that question is Judgment. Right? So, okay. Now this again is the Magician's Madman. Is it Magician, Madman, and Martyr? Yeah, Magicians, Martyrs, and Madman Tarot. Magician, Martyr, Madman Tarot. So each of the cards has an individual on it that represents the card, and for Judgment they've got the Bloody Benders. So very interesting. I love the imagery on this deck. It's just different and it's neat. So we've got some coffins. Old looks like a Midwest cabin. I am going to use the compendium. So this is not the book that comes with the cards. This is a separate book that supports all of these. And I want to just read a little bit about the cards because I don't necessarily know the individuals that are on them. So, and it is not easy to find. And of course I found it immediately. So the Bloody Benders as Judgment. Well, first of all, before I read about the Bloody Benders, I want to talk about what Judgment means as a pay attention card. So the question was, what is it that the universe wants us to pay attention across the board? Just in general, lifelong, whole thing, everything right now, what do we need to pay attention to? And it says Judgment. So Judgment card often comes up when there's something that to me is going to be brought into balance and judged. Whether good or bad, it is going to be made right. It is going to be made whole. I shouldn't say right because there's no... Finn, get out of there. It's like toddlers. This is not right or wrong. It's just whole. It's going to be made whole. So that means for things like maybe there's things that we want, that we wish we had, that we want to do, that we really would like to do, but it's not part of our plan. Then to be made whole, it may not happen just because you want it to. And that's Judgment for me. So... if I'm going to give advice to somebody who is looking at a general read, like this whole massive energy, what do we need to know? And it's Judgment. It is allowance. It is allow things to occur the way that they need to occur. For example, I've maintained, I think, a very positive attitude throughout Ian because I'm saying, you know what? The tree fell. I can't change it. This happened. I can't change it. Well, all across the world, things are happening. There's bombs still going on in Ukraine. Ukraine's making progress. Things are happening the way that they have to happen to be made whole. So I think that that's one of the things that Judgment represents when it comes to just the whole world. Hey, Dragon Dancer, good morning. Doing a quick tarot live since I still can't get a recording in or get my computer or anything running. So we pulled one question and one card right now, and it is Judgment. That was the card we pulled, and that question was not specific to hurricane, not specific to Florida, not specific to the U.S., but for the whole world and abroad. What is the most important thing that the universe wants us to know right now? And the card we pulled was Judgment. And the first thing that came to mind is allowance of things to occur, right? Not going out and judging and not being judged or not judging individuals, but the judgment of thing, kind of as a passive tense, like a passive process where things that occur have to allow to be occurred as the universe makes things whole again. And I think that that's an important message for everybody, really. Because it just, it speaks to, you can be of any denomination, of any group, of any left hand, right hand, up, down, any kind of path that you want to be. But you have to have allowance for things to naturally occur, right? So these are organic things that we're talking about when we say the universe is saying, guys, it's not that judgment is upon us. It's that we are trying to make the scales go in a certain way. We are trying to make judgments on things, but we're so imperfect when we make those judgments, they're often incorrect. So what happens isn't what we want or expect, but in the long run, it's the right thing. And that's the message, ultimately. A sad word, I saw your comment, and I agree, it is a very hard thing. I struggle in general with allowance. I'm so much better lately. It's been an active 2-year-long process of people just looking at me and saying, allow. And it's funny, you go back and look at some of my other videos with people that are in them, they'll look right at me and be like, dude, allow. Because I'll get spun out and I'll be like, I need this to happen this way, and he's blah, 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 I need to know now. And I'm like, the only way I'm going to make it through this and grow is to allow them to occur. The only way that I'm going to really move into the next phase of my life is to allow them to occur. And it's not permission. So allowance, we often think permission, right? So if I allow something to happen, I'm giving it permission. but it doesn't need my permission. To me, it's a passive allowance. So think of it this way, and I don't know if this will help you, but for me, when it comes to judgment, okay, thank you. When it comes, Rook is taking care of all the housework right now, so he's doing our laundry and stuff at the hotel. But when it comes to allowance, it's not I'm allowing this to occur. It's I'm going to go ahead and create a space. I know I'm getting kind of just imagine a vaulted space. It's often the side of the world. It exists because you say it does. You know, it's a whole nother topic on existence for me. But you create this space, and it's your allowance box. And that allowance box can be as big or as small as it needs to be, no matter what. And anything can go in your allowance box. Beach, come here. Your allowance box can hold thoughts. It can hold people. It can hold places. It can hold desires, wants, hates, all those things. It can hold anything you need. But it is an allowance box. And anything that goes in there is a space that is created just for that allowance at that time, right? And that's kind of how I've learned to try to manage when things get out of control for me, because I can't control them, because I want to give them permission and allow them. And I'm doing it from a human perspective, which is always going to be imperfect, right? So we switch that mindset to, I'm not giving you permission to occur because it's going to happen regardless. What I'm doing is I'm creating space for it to exist before it exists or before it becomes bigger, so that I can then inspect it and judge it from around while it's in the allowance box. I can judge it and I can move around it and I can feel it. I can taste it a little bit. I can, play with it and touch it and say, oh, I don't like that. I got to stop, because it's in the allowance box. It has its own space. So then you can actually address those behaviors or those processes or things that surround that thing that you're trying to allow. I have a very, very difficult time with this, and that has been one of the few things that has actually allowed me to get a little bit better with allowance. And yes, I get you. I feel uncomfortable too. And when I'm not in control, it's one of the things that made it so hard for me to fly, because I'm like, well, in a car, if I wreck, I'm in control of the driving. I like to drive. But if I'm in a plane, I'm not in control. And then I keep thinking, I was like, but that doesn't make it better or safer. That's a human imperfection that changes how you feel about it, right? The truth is, I can put that in the box, in my allowance box. Good morning, Ziggy, hey. In the allowance box, hope you're doing well, you have, for me, it would be the anxiety of a plane flight and not being in control. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter anyway if it's going to happen, right? I was able to look at it externally from a place that wasn't inside my human thing, right? I have a visitor. So ultimately, for those of you that are just coming in, we pulled the judgment card from the, I keep putting the name backwards, I want to make sure I get it right. To the Kickstarter that we recently got, the Magicians, Martyrs, and Madmen Tarot. First card, Judgment. Question is, what does the universe want us to know? And from a judgment perspective, we went and got into the topic of allowance. And the reason is because in order to, quote unquote, judge something, in my opinion, or to properly work through feelings of judgment and necessity when a decision has to be made, it's important to allow it to have its own space. So creating allowance and allowing things to exist outside of yourself helps you address it and go into it. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about, Ziggy. The judgment card is often coming up, or often comes up in a read. Let's say we're doing a Celtic cross or this whole big spread, right? And judgment basically to me means what's going to happen is going to happen. You're going to either pay for what you've done, whether it's good or bad. It's not retribution. It's not revenge. It's just making things whole again. So if you've done somebody wrong, that person's going to be made whole, and you might lose something out of it. That's what the judgment generally means. But when I'm talking about a universal message, like just by itself, Finn, that tickles. He digs his nose so far into my hair and my beard. But when it's a universal message, it's more about we need to judge and make judgments and decisions on things, but we need to allow them to have that space, or else we can potentially make bad decisions. Because again, human, imperfect, it's kind of who and what we are. Now the other part of this is, in this tarot, every tarot has a representation of a person or a group. In this one, it is the Bloody Benders. Okay? So in this particular tarot, you have a book of the tarot cards, which I am not going to read. It's just not a thing for me. I don't like knowing what the authors want the cards to mean. But what I am going to use is a separate book called the Magicians, Martyrs, and Madmen Compendium. So this is the historical information about each card. So the Bloody Benders was chosen for the Judgment card, and I want to read a little bit about what the Bloody Benders, who the Bloody Benders are, as part of this read. So the Bender clan, that's a group, family, arrived in Kansas on Christmas Day in 1870, searching for a land where they could have a homestead. 2 months later, they settled on a 160-acre lot. God, I wish I had 160 acres. I wish I had 5. 2 months later, the family settled in Labette County near the Osage Trail, which is a major road used by pioneers in the Wild West. They raised a house and a barn, planted a garden, apple orchard, started a small grocery business selling corn, liquor, milk, and other necessities out of their home. The life appeared to be perfect. The Benders, however hardy they might have been, they were far from perfect. There was some evidence that they were related at all, which they say they were, but they may not have been. Even their real names are probably not known. All 4 of them used a variety of aliases, but they did use Bender as the last name. That is a lot of grass, because I wouldn't be mowing that grass. We'd be hiring some people and doing some stuff. They do believe that they were German or Dutch, and came together due to criminal tendencies. John Bender, the old man, or also known as William, was 60 and spoke little English, had brute features and brute personality. Neighbors said he worked the farm to keep in good condition and was not lazy. The matron was a Dutch woman said to be very ugly with the personality of Lady Macbeth. That's kind of mean. She was also known as the Old Hag. Her name was never given, although, and it seems nobody knew her real name. Simply referred to her as Miss Bender. They assumed that her name was Elvira or Almira, but that's fictional. See, rounding out the clan was a man and woman, both in their early 20s, John and Kate Bender. They were, rather than brother and sister, they were married couple, both born in 1848. The guy, John, in this card was described as a deranged idiot who spent his free time staring into the vast prairie while pretending to read the Bible. He had laughing fits, maniacal laughter, and then Kate was the driving force of the family. So this is the other 20-year-old young person. Excellent English, was attractive and charming, and she styled herself as Professor Miss Katie Bender. So there's a lot more. I'm not going to read the whole book, but it's just a little bit of a history of who's on the card. Basically, at some point, the story goes on to, after them settling, allowing the first victim to come into the house. So basically, they talked about philosophies, religion, and I just want to see it. I have a feeling. They killed him. Yeah, so that was our first victim. I want to make sure it was that versus something else. So Kate actually slit his throat, stripped his valuables, and yeah. And then there was more issues. They had this independent spiritualist church had a dead body with which they might communicate. So there's some religious aspects to this too. But again, this is super long. There's like 10 pages on each card, on each group. So the Bloody Benders, this was their house platform. And that was actually the cabin. So, and the exhibition next to the cabin. So this is, I'm going to have to read this book. Like, I can't read it all to you because it'd make it like 50 hours long. But I thought that was pretty freaking cool.
This is freaking awesome.
So, yes, goats. Goats is always great. So that's our first message. Judgment. Judgment from the universe insofar as things will be made whole. Pay attention to what's making whole, and in order to allow yourself to be part of that making whole, allowance, creating space where things can exist that you can work through independently. It is definitely a skill. I highly recommend that if allowance is something you struggle with, to consider thinking about how to create the allowance box. That's one of the things that I used earlier, and that allowance box will help you put things in there that you're having difficulties or anxiety with and inspect them from different perspectives, because it's less threatening when it's exterior to you. Our second card is the Seven of Pentacles. So while Rook looks up the La Quintrala, you have to go to the contents to find anything when you have a second. La Quintrala.
So cool.
And I might have him read a little bit about them, but so the Seven of Pentacles.
La Quintrala?
Yeah, is the second card here.
I would buy just this book.
I know, it's neat.
Holy crap. I wonder if he's a martyr or a madman. La Quintrala.
What is she under?
63.
Martyr.
Madman.
Oh. So this is the Seven of Pentacles. So from a traditional standpoint, right, we're still talking about universal energy, but we're going to shift a little bit in, okay, now that I have the message the universe is telling me to look out for, what does the universe want me to actually do? So, first, this time, I think we're going to look up a little bit of La Quintrala. If you want to just read the first paragraph, I don't know if they can hear you.
Okay. Hi. Hurricane here, don't care. I'm going to the barber tomorrow. Catalina de los Rios y Lisburguer was born in Santiago, Chile in 1604. The daughter of a prosperous landowner, she wanted for nothing during her childhood. Despite this, she was never properly educated. Her family's money, prestige, and her own natural beauty made Catalina the archetype of a strong woman who relied on no one. Due to her red hair and fiery temperament, she was nicknamed La Quintrala, playing off the name of a red flower, Quintral, from the mistletoe family which grows in Chile. Her great-grandfathers had come to Chile with Conquistador Pedro de la Valdivia in 1540. On her mother's side, she was German Jewish. Her father's side was descended from the royal family of Castile and received massive landholdings from de Valdivia as a dowry from marrying his mistress. La Quintrala's mother was a cold, cruel woman who had been suspected of murdering the governor of Chile. She gave no affection to her daughter, and the servants did most of the parenting. Her father Gonzalo was a heroic figure in Santiago, a general in the army and a knight of Santiago. The family lived on a vast plantation with orange trees, vineyards, and hemp fields. Ooh. Their most profitable enterprise was sugar production. Her father was the first to plant sugarcane in Santiago, which normally would not grow in Chile, but his land grant included a large valley with a unique microclimate that allowed the cane to flourish. To maximize his profits, he built a mill to process the sugar and brought slaves from Africa to work the fields. When she was young, La Quintrala's grandmother, Aguera Flores, introduced her to the shamanic ritual magic practiced by the Incas. She was descended from an Inca princess and had not given up the ways of her people. Agueda became La Quintrala's guardian when her father died in 1622. Although the girl was only 18, she was suspected of poisoning Gonzalo with tainted chicken. There was insufficient evidence to pursue an investigation, and the matter was quickly dismissed.
I love
That's a little...
You know, that's said quietly.
Quietly dismissed.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to stay in the video. You certainly can, so I'll leave it at that angle. But it's just not my most flattering angle. Come get that old person neck starting to come in there.
Oh, my God, I need that.
But yeah, so we can't obviously read the whole thing. If there's a picture in there, show it.
Yeah.
There is so much cool stuff in this book, man. I tell you.
I want to buy this book, for sure.
We have it.
This is La Quintrala.
So, Seven of Pentacles, this time we did it a little backwards. Remember our question, what does the universe want us to know? Now what does the universe want us to do?
Ooh, you're a sugar cutter.
Yeah. So what the universe is telling us to do now with this information is take care of our business aspects of things, right? So Seven of Pentacles, in the card you'll see they're working the land. I don't know, she looks like she's whipping him.
Ooh, yeah.
But it really is about business. Usually it's about business. So Seven of Pentacles is talking about going out and doing the work, getting your affairs in order, putting business things together, because in order to go to the next level, you have to have those things organized, right? So remember too, one of the things that I think with tarot, especially our pip cards, is like your 1 through 3 or 1 through 4-ish are your beginnings, your 4 through 7s usually are the middle, and then 8, 9, and 10 are your endings of cycles. So the 7 is on a cusp. So in order to get to the 8 of Pentacles, which would be like your masterworking and things really smooth sailing from here on out, your 7 says get your affairs in order. Now it can also represent arguments or difficulties or barriers between people's communication when it comes to physical things, right? So if we're taking on, our universe wants us to pay attention and know about right now the message of judgment, the message of allowance, and the message of all of the great things that are around that we need to allow space for and work through. It's saying with that business orientation. This doesn't mean a business that you own necessarily or your business of work. It just means business dealings. So these are the things like maybe your bank account for your house. Maybe putting your affairs in order and organizing your budgetary spending for your home or for work. Maybe you are trying to start a business like we are, and we're really talking about that business itself. It's time to put those pieces in line properly. That is the thing that you really need to focus on from a do perspective. So now we have what do we need to be thinking about? What do we need to do? Let's talk about what are we going to get out of all of this. So what's in it for me? That's the end
Welcome.
card. What's in it for me?
Who do we have?
My favorite card.
Ooh.
My favorite card
Love
in the
it.
deck. One of the two. You know, mine's Magician and the High Priestess. Excuse me.
Ben. I wonder if she's a madman. Nope.
Magician, probably.
Let's see.
Marie Laveau, the
Marie
Voodoo
Laveau.
Queen of New Orleans, is the High Priestess. So, this is what we're going to benefit out of this. So, what's in it for me? Massive growth, undertaking, forward progress, new era. So, the High Priestess is a representation of the feminine of the Magician, right? And the Magician is all about manifest, 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 make it work. The High Priestess is all about, all right, we're going to do this. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. But you are going to be brand new on the other side. The High Priestess is the Magician, not just the Magician, but the Magician, right? So this, to me, has been a very neat universal spread. We've got our theories and thoughts that we need to work on judgment decisions and making things together and putting them through and allowing them to occur and judging them externally so that we can address them objectively. We've got working and getting our business dealings, financial, home, pentacle type things, earth type things in order and together. It fits with Hurricane for us. And then we have what's in it for me? Well, Marie Laveau. What's in it for me is I am going to High Priestess the fuck out of this shit. And we're going to march through that process. And we're going to go through it. So yes, and Paranormal Witch, we may actually read this whole piece of it. I don't know if we can, but...
Yeah.
It's long. They're usually 5 pages long.
No, this one's
It's a little shorter.
1, 2, 3.
So we are going to read from the historical compendium about Marie Laveau and see what it kind of says on her.
All right. Marie Laveau, I don't know if she was good or bad, but I do know this. She was a powerful woman. This quip was collected by Louisiana author Robert Tallant for his 1946 book, Voodoo in New Orleans. But it still holds true of Marie's reputation around New Orleans today.
Let's get over.
Hush. Hush.
Did I open the fridge? Really, girls?
Marie Laveau was a Creole woman born in 1801 in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Her ancestry was African, Native American, and French. A tall woman with curling black hair and attractive features, she married her first husband, Jacques Perry, when she was 18. The marriage lasted until Jacques' death 6 years later, when Marie began to call herself the Widow Paris. To support herself after her husband's death, she became a hairdresser, visiting the homes of wealthy Creole and white women to cut and style their hair. Marie Laveau's live-in boyfriend, Louis de Gapion, introduced her to voodoo religious practices. In New Orleans during the early 1800s, voodoo was a thriving religion among virtually all people of color. Mass services were performed in Congo Square, or when those began to draw curious white onlookers on the secluded shore of Lake Pontchartrain. Large gatherings involved rhythmic drumming, dancing, and singing around a large bonfire. Men and women were often nude and danced with a feverish passion all through the night to shouts of Voodoo, voodoo, magnian. The dancing continued until it devolved into a free-for-all orgy. It is easy to understand why the white settlers found the ritual so enticing. In addition to the wild theatrical ceremonies, voodoo was also practiced around altars in private homes and through the use of gris-gris, small charms created by a priest or priestess. Before Marie Laveau's entrance into the voodoo scene, it was a loose-knit community without any formal organization. There were lots of root doctors and queens, the equivalent of priests and priestesses who doled out charms and led worship services. But no one had ever attempted to unite the body of believers under a single leader.
Shh, honey.
Marie changed that by utilizing her excellent business sense, her charm, and her talent for showmanship. The major element she added to the existing voodoo ceremonies came from the Catholic Church, where she had been raised. She conflated traditional deities with saints and used holy water to create her gris-gris. Through her hairdressing business...
Gris-gris or gris-gris?
I don't know how you say it. How do you say it?
Gris-gris. If that's what it's written.
Okay.
Is it Gris?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know there was something else I just didn't know about. You dare start getting a little frustrated face on you. You gotta turn that off right now. You want to put a thin butt in your face.
Peachy, lay down. I forgot where I was.
My Peachy. Gris.
Through her hairdressing business, Marie had learned the upper-class society had secrets and perverse pleasures, so she began inviting select white men and women to ritual orgies by the lake. She held the darkest and most sensational ceremonies on a barge floating out on the water to ensure their privacy would be protected. These innovations allowed Marie Laveau to consolidate power and flush out rival queens. Anyone who wished could serve under her, but if a queen challenged her leadership, they were in for a rude dose of nasty gris. By 1830, she was proclaimed the unrivaled voodoo queen of New Orleans. Around this time, she acquired what would become her primary residence and place of business, a house on St. Anne Street, close to Congo Square. Today, this building bears a plaque commemorating her time there, but not everything she did at the house was commendable. In addition to her hairdressing business, gris sales, and spiritual consulting, Marie Laveau also ran an illegal liquor store for which she was fined in 1855. Even more intriguing, her second house, the Maison Blanche, included a brothel where white men could meet discreetly with women of color. Naturally, the discretion offered by Marie came at a steep price. Now entering her 60s, Marie began to slow down and started giving back to the community. She became charitable with her accumulated riches and spent her days ministering to prisoners on death row. The prison officials allowed her to keep an altar in the jail with a mixture of voodoo and Catholic offerings. In 1871, the San Francisco Examiner reported on her activities, saying she had been performing religious services for inmates since 1850. She also attended the trials of her followers, wrapped in a red shawl, wearing a faded yellow turban, sitting with stately dignity in the gallery like a grand old dame.
See, I love that. I think that is so interesting, and that mix of voodoo and Catholicism, and then charitability that I don't think anybody ever assumed with her, but charitability on the back of, nobody challenges her as queen kind of thing. All those different things that go together, I think are just huge.
Yeah. When her advancing age prevented Marie from leading the ceremonies like she used to, her daughter, who also called herself Marie Laveau, picked up where her mother left off. She slipped into the role of voodoo queen without missing a beat. Many of her followers never realized there had been a transition, sparking rumors that she had eternal youth and beauty. For the sake of accuracy, most historians refer to the daughter as Marie Laveau II. When the widow Paris died on June 15, 1881, the entire world took notice. A page 2 story in the New York Times proclaimed the dead voodoo queen. It featured a retrospective of Marie Laveau's life and her contributions to New Orleans culture. The article closed by saying she was one of the most wonderful women who had ever lived. Although the paper claimed she was 98, she was actually 79 years old.
Sounds like your obituary.
Yeah. Her daughter wasted no time cementing her position as the new Marie Laveau. The press coverage over her mother's death inspired her to open voodoo to anyone who wished to participate. She was just as shrewd as her predecessor and saw an opportunity to raise money using rich white men. Not only did she open the ceremonies on Lake Pontchartrain to outsiders, but she also staged theatrical performances in St. John Bio using snakes and animal sacrifices. These enticed the audience to spread rumors of her power, encouraging more whites and tourists to pay for the privilege of watching her spectacles. An old black man named Willie Thomas recalled attending a voodoo ceremony and seeing Marie Laveau II in 1885. He said, "She was the most beautiful woman I ever seen in my life. She had nothing at her meetings but white men and yellow girls, and they danced naked all night long." Everyone who knew her described her as incredibly beautiful, a mixed-race woman who could have passed for Spanish, African, or white if she desired. One man said she walked just like a queen. Marie Laveau II continued her mother's trade in the flesh, seducing white men with her beauty and charm, then passing them off to the girls under her employ in the Maison Blanche. The parties occurred every Saturday night and included alcohol and food paid for by the male clientele, who also shelled out $10, which was around $250 in 2022, to spend the evening in the company of a willing woman. Not content with filling in for her deceased mother, Marie Laveau II was determined to outdo her. She took the outrageous step of inviting reporters from the local and national press to attend a nighttime voodoo ritual. The entire event was carefully staged for maximum enjoyment of the audience, who enthusiastically recorded the details of the fantastic liturgy and reported them the following day with a headline, "Good luck from a snake, the maddening dance of a dusky voodoo queen." Some in the community did not take kindly to the details revealed in these articles. For example, the presence of a human tibia in the ritual fostered a rumor that Marie Laveau II kept the skeletons of children in her dresser drawers. Forms of magic using human remains were not uncommon in voodoo, but generally the remains were sourced from old graveyards and only included small parts, such as a single finger bone or a piece of a toe. This was a form of necromancy derived from African traditions of ancestor worship. Ben.
That's Tina, dear.
Oh, rather than celebrating death, it was a way for practitioners to connect with and remember the deceased who came before them. Marie Laveau II reigned as the voodoo queen of New Orleans until she died in either 1901 or 1918, depending on the source. The place of her burial is not known with absolute certainty. The prevailing opinion is that she and her mother are buried in the Marie Laveau crypt in St. Louis Cemetery, No. 1, within 100 feet of a pyramid tomb built by actor Nicolas Cage. A plaque marks the house on St. Anne Street where the queens practiced their trade and held court. The Evening Star of Washington, D.C. reported in 1909 that Marie had died a few years ago and had been over 100 years old. Like many others, the reporter inadvertently conflated mother and daughter into one all-powerful, long-living queen of the voodoos.
Ben.
Okay. That's certainly an interesting life.
Perfect timing. All the dogs eat.
So I guess the one seated is number one and the standing one is the daughter?
Probably.
That is so cool. So what does that mean, I guess, for, like, she's like, just do the shit you need to do and only care about you?
Well, remember, to me, one of
Powerful?
the key words with the high priestess for me is no shortcuts. The key phrase, I guess I should say. No shortcuts. Do not take a shortcut when you're trying to manifest magic or when you're working your stuff. It will work every time. You believe in it, you agree to it, you mode it, but don't skip.
No, skip.
You know, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's really important. So, Ma can have her medicine, by the way. Everybody ate. But yeah, you know, I'm not a big fan of just like reading from a book to you guys, but as we pull these cards, it's just so cool to read about the different people that are represented on them. So, we'll do a quick recap if anybody else happened to hop in. But we had Judgment as our what does the universe want us to know, or what's the big overarching. Fiji, can you get that dog? She just ran off with one of the bowls. Come here. Drop it. Yeah, good girl.
She's a nasty bitch.
She dropped it when I told her to. She got right up on the counter and took it, though.
She's a nasty bitch.
Tarot in a household with animals. It's a never-ending story. But yeah, so universe judgment. We connected that judgment to how we can judge things objectively, not people, not each other, but judge things and systems and processes and everything about life by putting it into our allowance box and saying, hey, allowance box, I can now look at you objectively and see, do I need to make the adjustment? Maybe I'm the one that needs to make the change, right? So that allowance of things to happen. And then we talked about what does the universe want us to do? And that was the Seven of Pentacles, and the Seven of Pentacles is getting our affairs in order. Getting things more organized so that we can get to our masterwork stage. But we have to be organized, we have to work the fields, we have to have a plan, we have to put all those little pieces in order so that we can make things happen the way they need to happen. And then we ended with the High Priestess of what is in it for me, or what's this going to mean? This, if we do it, it means that we're going to have significant success. We're going to manifest our magic in a very positive manner. And I just think that really, really is nice. You know what, Dragon Dancer, you and me both, I am so tired of organizing anything, but I also feel like with the power out, we've done our spring cleaning more than we've ever done before, and so that's organizing, right, getting things spiffied up and cleaned up, but we have, Rook and I, and this obviously is hurricane specific, not reading specific, but we have decided we're really going to start refocusing on getting things done that we want done at the house. And one of our big things is we wanted to convert our garage into kind of a workspace that we can keep cool. So we've already reached out to have somebody look at putting in a mini split air conditioning out there. So things like that, and that applied to this reading is, I need to look at, do I really need that? So we had other ideas, there's just so many ideas, and we had to cut some of those off. These, looking at it objectively, it didn't really make sense on quite a few things. So it's that's the judgment part. We judge those independently. Now business, or if we want to do certain things, we're going to have to save money up to do those things. So let's decide what they are and have that goal in mind and put our affairs in order so that we can make those happen. And then if we do that, then it's going to happen. Things will fall into place better because we'll have more consistency, organization, and, for me, it's a clutter-free space. Let me go back and catch up on a little bit. Nick Cage's gravesite. I'd have to see that. That just makes me so mad, Ziggy. I didn't know that either about the pyramid tomb. That's just stupid. This is freaking crazy. That I've never really had a deck like this. I've had some before that have representations on it, but this one is different. And then the historical compendium, that alone was worth its weight in gold. Yeah, a sad world. I agree. The High Priestess, her message with shortcuts is when you take the shortcuts, it's like a mathematical equation. And I don't know if you're a math person, some people are and some aren't, but it still makes sense, right? When you're doing an equation, the goal is always to make the left equal the right. So if you have 1x plus 3 equals 27, you have to solve for x so that both sides are equal. With the High Priestess, that's kind of what she said. Finn. She's saying both sides have to be equal in order to do that, right? So think about it. If I take a shortcut on the left, then my output on the right is going to be less, right? So if I want a full outcome, I want full joy, I want full, I don't want excess, but I want to have more, I want abundance. I want not excess, but abundance. I want comfort, I want things to be nice. I want to enjoy things, but I want to also respect and love and have a response and respect for them. Then if I'm trying to equal that equation on both sides, if I shortcut one side, I'm going to shortcut the other. It's the only way you can make things balance. So when it comes to being patient and not taking shortcuts, that's just something I would say to remember. I'm not good at it either. I take shortcuts for sure. And every time I do it, I kind of yeah, you know what? Probably should have done that. If you set off this fire detector, I will kill you. That's on video. Y'all heard it here first. I don't know. It's empty, I think. So yeah, and I like shortcuts. I will say, like most recently, with the yard work and stuff, like I know what I want the yard to look like, but I don't do the work to make it look like that. A couple months ago, I started doing that actively. Like, okay,
You
if
really
I
did.
want, yeah, I know. If I want this front yard to have a garden, I'm gonna have to go out and till the land. Like, it's not just gonna happen. And if I go out and try to do it in a shortcut manner, just to make it easier, it doesn't work. So I put in the full energy on the left, and I'm getting the full energy on the right. So the equations are balancing, and it is so much more fulfilling. I think anybody you talk to will ultimately come to that decision. Sometimes it takes some people longer than others. Work is the same thing. You know, I work probably on most days 10 to 12 hours a day, and recently I said, I'm not doing it. I'm working 8 hours. I am a person. I'm not meant to work my entire life away. But I also recognized at the same time that I could do things without shortcuts and do them fully and get them done. And that has made my work more valuable to me. I have been able to get the same amount of stuff done in a shorter period because I'm not taking shortcuts or putting something off. So that's another piece of that whole, that's High Priestess energy. You know, put in 10 hours of work. You'll probably get more than 10 hours out on the other side if the 10 hours is what you need. But you got to put it in on both sides. You got to balance that equation. Wait, what I missed? Oh, yeah. I got you. Okay. I have never been to New Orleans, by the way. Like, that is something I really, really want to do. We've talked about it a few times. When I was working at a credit union a long time ago, one of my coworkers, her husband, she was getting married, she is married to him now. But he went to New Orleans for his bachelor's party, and he got hurt very, very, very badly. And since then, I've been kind of scared to even consider going, because I'm like, oh, it's not a very safe place. But we need a group, and we need a tour guide and somebody that we trust, and probably a security guard to make it work safely. So yeah. I would love to go just to be present. One of the things that is on our plan, like our plan, we've talked about it a lot, is if we want to get an RV. But we haven't really taken a lot of steps towards making that happen. It's, again, that's Seven of Pentacles and High Priestess energy right there. We need to plan our stuff, and we want to get through and work for what we have to get through and work, right? So that's going to be important. But that would be something I'd love to get an RV together and do a haunted places tour. That'd be so much fun. Like 2 weeks and yeah. Anyway, I digress. I definitely do want to go still. But anyway, so that's the tarot for today. I am just amazed by this deck. This is the second time I've used it, and I think the first time we kind of came up with the same idea, the same feeling of this. This is pretty freaking cool. This was a Kickstarter. This is one of the reasons why I like Kickstarter so much, because you get some pretty amazing decks out of them. And this is the same guy that makes the Angel Tarot and the Occult Tarot, by the way, Travis McHenry. So hopefully some of you recognize that name, probably from the Malice experience, as somebody who's kind of, gone through that. But as all good things do, they must end. We still don't have power and internet at our house, so we are using today to A, we slept in, and B, we're getting ready to head over now to start doing some more cleaning to make sure things are together and to take care of our animals that are still there. Our fish, obviously we have a saltwater, I don't know why I keep saying obviously because it's not obvious, but we have a saltwater fish tank and multiple freshwater tanks. We have not lost a single fish. We've been going every day and running our generator for them to put, make sure that they have some good aeration and changes. So that's been stressful. Our coral are still alive. They're not doing super well because they're not getting enough light. So we want to run a good 8 to 10 hours of light today so that they can get some good light. And yeah, so City says 95% will be on by tonight. I have a feeling I'm either going to be in that 5% or they're not going to be as quick as they think they are. It's been 10 days, but we have a house to go to, so we're happy about that. I know I keep repeating myself because it is stressful. Another, just for the record, this is one of the things that I do, and I don't know outlet-wise how you guys deal with stress, but my way to deal with stress is to deny that it exists. So I'm keeping a positive attitude this time with this event, but I'm also admitting to myself that this is stressful and I'm allowed to be stressed about it. Because normally I'm like, it's okay, we're just going to make it. We're going to do it. And we are. But I'm admitting, which is very hard for me to actually say out loud, that I am stressed about this. It is causing me discomfort, but I also can still be positive at the same time. Thanks, Asad World. I appreciate you stopping in. Thank you. And to deny it paranormal, it's the opposite of anxiety. And it ultimately will find its way out. So when you feel something stressful and you get anxiety and your mind starts going crazy about it, I can turn it off completely. But then it comes out in other ways. And those other ways are very hurtful to myself and my psyche. Because I have a problem with being able to be both positive and stressed at the same time, but I just have really good coping mechanisms, and that's something that I want to address and admit. I have great coping mechanisms. I know how to cope with stress, but I have to admit that it exists first. So, yeah, that's a thing I do. And I just literally will say I'm not. Oh, this isn't stressful. We have a house to go to. Blah blah blah. But you know what? Those things are stressful to me because, yeah, we have a house, but we can't use it. And there's a tree down, and our pool cage is gone. We can't get in our pool. First world problems, right? That's what I'm thinking about. To me, I'm just that guilt I feel saying why am I so upset that I can't get in my pool? And some people don't even have a house to go to. And I think might have been Victor. I'm pretty sure it was. Dragon Dancer, correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been even you, but I think it was Victor, that had posted something, maybe it was somebody else, I don't know, I can't remember, but somebody posted something the other day, it was really great, and it was, or maybe it might have been Josh, I don't know, somebody posted it and it was really great. There isn't the mentality of it could always be worse is very detrimental, because that is a denial technique, it's a bad coping technique that says that it could always be worse. It could always be worse. Yeah, but it is bad, and it's okay for it to be bad. And that's just because somebody else has it worse doesn't mean that my feelings of loss and change and stress are less valid. And I have a hard time with that because it makes me feel like I'm complaining. Look, I still don't have power. And then when I see somebody else say they still don't have internet, and then my first thing is how am I so upset that I don't have power when literally people don't have a house to go to, it's gone. And then I'm but I still feel bad, and then denying that feeling is detrimental to you. You should be allowed to feel upset and stressed. Yes, your situation is terrible and it is worse than mine, but that doesn't mean my situation isn't bad. So I'm going to allow myself to have that stressor. I'm going to exist it. I'm going to put that stressor in my allowance box. I'm going to inspect it, I'm going to address it, and then I'm going to let it go. And that's one of my coping mechanisms. So I hope that helps some of you. If you're looking for a way to kind of deal with that anxiety, that process, is that that allowance box. It's a great box. Probably need to talk about that more tomorrow. I think that'd be a good topic. But anywho, we're hitting an hour. My tarots are usually 10 minutes long, so sorry about that. Because it's different live. I can't edit or anything. So yeah, it's Mystic Salon, and I like big decks. Bye. That's it. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you. Love you all.